Welcome to Talking Jets. My name's Ryan and I'll be your pilot tonight. I am joined alongside our panel. I got Matt O'Leary, Green Bean, and Ali from Loyal NY Jet fans. How you boys doing tonight? Matt, I'll kick it to you first.
Doing pretty good. Excited to talk some trade deadline rumors and some Avery Williamson.
Green Bean, how you doing tonight?
I am just like Matt. I couldn't be more excited to dive into this with our predictions for what we're going to do with the last 24 hours of this trade nonsense.
Ali, glad to have you on. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing good, man. Thank you guys for having me on.
All right. To start things off, guys, we have a question of the day. Grade the Avery Williamson trade. All you got to do is click on the description down below. There's a link to the Flick Chat. Click on that, answer the question there. You will get entered to win a Just End the Suffering shirt at the end of this stream. So make sure you do that. Take care of business. Don't forget to tune in at the very end. We'll be raffling that shirt off. All right. We got a bunch to talk about. We got trade deadline stuff. We got the Avery Williamson trade. We got the game and everything. But we'll talk the tank for Trevor. We'll talk all that. Let's get our thoughts around the Week 8 game. Jets versus Chiefs. It was the largest spread of the season. Green Bean, what were your initial thoughts of Week 8?
Look, I thought that it was the most fun that I've had this year, other than maybe the Denver game. That was a fun game too. But I mean, look, I never for 1 second thought we were going to win. I never had any weird delusions that was going to take place, but I thought it was a decent game for a little while there until the second half, showed up and all that. But I enjoyed it. I think that Adam Gase took the plays back from Dabo Swinney. It looked like to me, physically, he was holding his card and talking and doing all that kind of stuff. And it doesn't matter which one of those two guys is calling the plays. It looks the same. Overutilization of old skillless people and underutilization of the young guys that have the opportunity to show us something. But other than that, I enjoyed myself. I thought it was a good way to continue to lose.
Matt, what about you? What were your initial thoughts of the game?
Yeah, first half, similar to Buffalo, there were some points where it's like, okay, like this offense looks like it can do a little bit of something. And then same thing. I actually said it to Green Bean on his live stream. He said, did the Jets have any shot in the second half? And I said, if the Jets go 3-and-out on the first drive, it's going to get ugly quick. But if they go down and score, maybe it'll be a little bit of a game. Well, they went 3-and-out, and then it was a complete disaster, which unfortunately was kind of what I think most people were expecting. How does Denzel Mims only get 3 targets on the game? That's really what I would like to know. That's my biggest head scratcher.
Oh, dude, it drove me bananas. There were 35 passing plays called. 5 of those were sacks. The other 27 went to other people that shouldn't be getting damn targets. Ali, how you doing tonight? What'd you think of the Week 8 loss?
I mean, I got to go back with the Mims. I was just doing a podcast earlier this morning, man, and I was completely confused on why Braxton Berrios is getting all the targets over Denzel Mims, who showed his athleticism, throughout college, through training camp, through the first 2 games that he's been playing. He's showed his athleticism. And again, Chiefs have a good defense, but they don't have a great defense. I mean, the cornerback, he's not going against Tre'Davious White, and he was still ripping him apart against Buffalo. So, I mean, you got to take a shot. And again, bad coaching strikes again for the Jets.
Oh man, that's just the thing. Like, you look at the targets and the runs, like Perine only got 8 runs. He got 2 receptions. Mims had the 3 targets. And the one target he didn't catch was almost like a crazy acrobatic, like catching it on like his, I don't know, just ridiculous. Would have been a wild catch if he even caught it. Now, for me, the big takeaway from this game, maybe not the big takeaway, but I was sort of holding out hope for Sam Darnold, and for a lot of this game and this season, I've kind of been like, all right, if the Jets get the number 1 pick, I want Trevor Lawrence. If they don't get the number 1 pick, I'm cool with building around Sam. At this point, I'm not necessarily sure that's the route you got to go. Justin Fields is starting to creep up there in my thought process. Matt, do you think there is any salvation for Sam Darnold? He had 133 yards on the day and finished about 60% completion, 18 of 30.
Yeah, It's going to be extremely, extremely tough for him to salvage his career here. Now, would I be stunned if the Jets traded him away and he ended up, having a pretty good career somewhere else? No, there is absolutely talent there, but he's been so damaged, especially the last 2 years. He doesn't look anywhere remotely close to what he looked like as a rookie or even at points last year. Um, he and there are some other factors on top of that too. Like he is definitely banged up right now. The playmakers around him aren't good. The offensive line at times, especially on the interior, has struggled. It's a really, really bad situation, but I just think he needs to be elsewhere in order to have any shot of salvaging his career. Even if the Jets aren't picking first overall, I don't see a scenario in which they're getting out of the top three. And if that's the case, then you're probably taking Fields or Lance at that point. It sucks to say that, but I really think the Jets did all they could to ruin this kid, and I just don't see how it works out here.
Green Bean, what about you? What do you think about Sam Darnold?
Yeah, I mean it's almost as if like it's reminiscent of watching those completely inept quarterbacks of the 90s like Bubby Brister, and I don't even know if you guys were around yet. And even when Frank Reich was our quarterback here for a little while there, and Neil O'Donnell and all these guys, you were just watching, you knew it was like, this guy's never going to hit our receivers if they get open. That's what it's starting to feel like with Sam. Now, I agree with Matt, and I've said this before. I think Sam Darnold is a talented, very young quarterback, but his ability to do anything in the Adam Gase sphere, even if it's just that offense, is completely gone. He misses guys. He doesn't see guys. He runs when there's no pressure. It's like all those kinds of things that you see what a damaged quarterback go through is what we're watching with Sam Darnold. Now, just like we were talking about with Mims, and there's more to talk about with where we're running the ball and all that, but there was a play or two that I noticed. I haven't watched the all 22 yet, but there was one play in particular that Mims peeled off of trips and he was open. Darnold didn't even consider. It wasn't even a consideration to get him the ball there. Now, is that because Gase told him to throw to this one receiver? I don't know, but Darnold's not seeing the field. He always struggled with that a little bit, but it's worse than his rookie year, and I don't think it's coming back, man. It's sad to see.
Ali, what are your thoughts on Sam Darnold?
You guys said he's damaged, and I think he's not even 100% right now. I mean, after Thursday Night Football hit that he got, I don't think he's been 100% since. I think his shoulder has been bothering him, and it looks like he took a big hit yesterday in yesterday's game too. So I don't even think he's 100%. I mean, the Jets have done everything to ruin him. I mean, every little thing has gone. The offensive line has gone terribly. The wide receivers, we don't even some people in the league don't even know who our wide receivers are, and they expect Sam Darnold to be a good quarterback with these weapons, and it's just not possible. And with this coaching staff, it's a lost cause. And the best thing for him to do is to trade him away, and the Jets need to start off fresh, and hopefully Joe Douglas takes in charge of the entire organization.
Yeah, for me, the whole Sam Darnold thing, it was disappointing. 133 yards. I don't care who you are. You got to be able to get more yardage than that in this league at the quarterback position. You look at all the rookies coming in, Herbert, Burrow, just having monster games week in and week out. And Sam Darnold just can't seem to figure it out. Our coaching staff can't seem to figure it out. And the weapons surely have been an issue. There was a play yesterday that I thought Sam really missed. And I think it was just before halftime, if I'm not mistaken. Jeff Smith was like in the end zone. He overthrew him by like 2-3 yards. That's a play that you got to make if you're an NFL quarterback.
Right.
So I'm pretty down on Sam. What do we think his trade value is right now? Are we getting a second round pick for Sam as it stands, or is he going to have to show more? Do you think there's I don't know. What do you think the trade value is? Ali, I'll throw it to you first.
I've seen a lot of different things for him. I think teams are definitely interested in Sam Darnold and seeing what they can get for him. But I think either like a second round pick or a third round pick, because I don't think he's a first round pick because of how damaged he is right now. And the only thing I can see him going second round because of how young he is. And he's been, even in his USC days, I mean, he was a little inconsistent as well there too. So there's a lot of concerns. He has a talent, but again, there's a lot of question marks about Sam Darnold if he can actually turn it around in another place.
Green Bean, what do you think our trade value is for Sam right now?
Well, the interesting question is this is what should give us a more natural, like a realistic perspective of what his trade value is. If our GM, so let's say we were the other team and Sam Darnold was somewhere else and our GM gave up a first, second, third, where would I not be angry that our GM gave up a pick for this guy playing this poorly for this long? And sadly to say, Sam's value, in my opinion, is at an all-time low. I don't think you're getting a second for him. If it's to happen right now, I don't see it. I think probably a third-round pick, and that sucks, man. But it's true. And that, just to be clear, he didn't take that hit. He didn't take a hit yesterday. He boneheadedly created that hit. You know what I mean? So that when he lowered his shoulder and went into I think it was the safety, and that popped his shoulder, he was toast. That's another thing. Like, he's got to slide. You know, it's his 101 type of stuff. He's all over the place. I feel bad for him, and I'm certainly never going to jump on that bash Sam Darnold thing. I like him. I think he did nothing wrong. Adam Gase is a complete turd, and just the whole thing surrounding him. We all know what happened. But as far as right now, he is 130 yards, ran into a safety, just all those types of things. I think it's over, and I don't think anybody – I would be furious if Joe Douglas gave a second-round pick for Sam Darnold if he was somewhere else.
Matt, what do you think we're getting for Sam Darnold right now?
Green Bean made a really good point. I was going to come on here and say I really think it's still a second, but I don't know. If my team traded a second-round pick for this guy, I don't know how I'd be feeling right now. I think he has a chance to salvage that down the stretch of this year. If he plays semi-okay, and then maybe someone says, okay, yeah, I'll take a shot on a 23-year-old who was a former, third overall pick. If it was made right now at the deadline, I think it's a third round pick, but there's a chance it can get back to a second if it's in the off season. And I think it eventually does get back to a second. I don't think we're going to see 130-yard performances each and every week.
Yeah, I'm hoping we see a little bit more from Sam towards the tail end of the season. I had this thought that we were going to have this IR situation for Sam, and he was going to be, I don't want to say a phantom IR, but like, hey, let's not ruin his trade value. His trade value is shot right now, so I don't see that happening. But I think if we had thought like, oh, hey, we might be able to get, maybe late first, second round pick, something of that nature, I think we'd throw him on the IR. I think at this point we'd probably see him play the rest of the season. Let's get to a few comments. Chris Bucco says, guys, I'm starting to love Justin Fields. Him and Lawrence have been prospect 1-2 since high school. Am I crazy to think Fields is going to be the better pro? Green Bean, how do you feel about that comment? Fields being a better pro than Lawrence.
Well, let's look back in our most recent history. We had a 5-quarterback first round. Sam Darnold, it was Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Josh Allen, and Josh Rosen. And then Lamar Jackson was the forgotten guy that was taken at the very end by the Ravens. No one that was evaluating that draft nobody put forth the real argument that Lamar Jackson was in the conversation with the other four. They thought he was a running back. There was even talk about him switching to wide receiver, all those kinds of things. So I don't think it's that unrealistic to think that Justin Fields can end up being the better pro. I think it's going to come down to organization and what they do with these guys. Trevor Lawrence is just as ruinable as anybody else, man. Let me make that clear. He's a great prospect, but Justin Fields looks pretty good. I haven't done my deep dive into these guys. I actually tried to watch some Ohio State, Penn State last week, and I couldn't get to it. But I don't think it's all that crazy to think that he might be the better pro. I don't think he's the better prospect right now, but it's definitely possible.
Ali, what are your thoughts on the Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields sort of comparison that we're seeing here?
Yeah, the same thing with what Greenberg said. I mean, I don't really watch college football and look at scouting until maybe January. That's when I actually go deep dive in right now I'm just watching Rutgers football because I report for them, so that's all I'm caring about right now. But again, I've seen highlights, I've seen the hype and seen like actual prospects, talk about this guy, and he looks legit. I mean, he looks cool. He can compete with Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence is still gonna be the number one. There is no way Trevor Lawrence is gonna be taken off that priority of the number one quarterback in this draft class, because he is. I mean, he's been winning games since his rookie year. So like, I mean, as a freshman. He's been killing it. He's been killing it, and I think it's just a topic to talk about after the season, after their season's done, after our season's done. I don't think that's a topic for right now.
Matt, what do you think about Fields and Lawrence?
Yeah, so it's certainly a possibility. Like there are times where quarterbacks who go later than the guy who is number one turn out to be the better pro. As these guys said, I mean, Lawrence is definitely the better prospect, but we see prospects get ruined. I think if you polled, everyone on the 2018 draft class, I would say 90% of scouts would have said Sam Darnold was the best quarterback prospect in that draft class. So it's certainly possible that Fields turns out to be the better pro. If you're making a bet on it, I don't see how you don't bet Lawrence just based on those traits. But yeah, I mean, anything's possible, and Fields is a really good prospect, so it wouldn't be that shocking. No.
Yeah, I'm excited to do my little bit deeper of a dive into Fields. Initially, I'm concerned because it feels like anyone can play quarterback at Ohio State, and then you have I don't know. It feels like everyone's always running wide open over there. But I'm seeing the highlights. I'm seeing everything. I was like, okay, Fields looks pretty good. I just want to feel confident enough where if the Jets screw this up and they don't get the number one overall pick, I'm like, okay, getting the second guy. So I think that's kind of where I'm at. I don't have a full breakdown yet. I can't give my full, God's honest opinion. But I'm just hoping to be confident by the time draft time rolls around. V-Man says, stop calling Gase a head coach. A head coach is an individual who helps a person or a team to become better at a particular sport. He is an anti-coach. Tribeca Trevor. Yeah, no, look, hey, I'm bummed with Adam Gase. His best quality is going to be that he got Joe Douglas in here and that he gets us the number one overall pick, as Green Bean has said in the past. Guys, anything to add about Adam Gase? Ali.
I mean, I don't know, man. He ruins franchises. He ruins teams. He makes fan bases hate each other. I mean, it's just what he does, man. Sam Darnold got ruined. He couldn't use Le'Veon Bell correctly. I mean, he couldn't do anything correctly. Robbie Anderson left. I mean, pretty much and he's lighting it up in Carolina right now, and that's Adam Gase's fault. And the reason this team just sucks is Adam Gase. And as soon as he's gone, this team's going to be dramatically better. Dramatically better. There's no question about that.
Green Bean, any thoughts on Adam Gase?
Yeah, I want to share something with you. So this morning, I got a comment on one of my videos from a guy named Mike Green. Hopefully you're here, Mike. Here's a plug. He said, it's hard to believe people don't talk about Gase for what he really is. He was hired to dismantle Miami and now for the Jets. He is a fall guy for the NFL when an owner wants to start all over. So he goes deeper into it, and then it gets slightly crazier after that, a little conspiracy. And yeah, a lot of tinfoil.
a little tinfoil hat going.
But it's interesting. I said to him, now that's an interesting take, man. I think Gase is about as proficient as a dismantler as you could hope to have found. Now, I honestly don't think that Chris Johnson thought that's what he was getting when he believed that, in his second or third year of being the CEO of the Jets, that he found the guy and he was going to do what Woody can't. He's got little brother-itis, that whole thing going on. He wanted so fucking badly to get this right, and he didn't. I think Gase is not a head coach, like was said. He's really not. He's barely an offensive coordinator. He's a bad one at that, and he's certainly no quarterback guru. I think those terms, the fact that they were associated with him what a ruse, man. He did it. He to the tune of millions of dollars and a two-time NFL head coach. We should all be so lucky.
Matt, what are your thoughts on Adam Gase?
Yeah, I mean, awful head coach, but he has a gimmick, or he should have a next gimmick in used car sales, because he sold 2 franchises on somehow buying into him after parlaying Peyton Manning's success into an offensive coordinator gig in Chicago, where Jay Cutler was like, okay, like they were a mediocre offense. Then the Dolphins hopped all over that. We know what happened in Miami, and then this disaster. I think most Jets fans thought that this was going to be bad. Like maybe there's a small fraction of Jets fans who are like, I don't like the hire, but I'm going to try to positive spin zone this and see how this can work out. But I think this is worse than even the most pessimistic Adam Gase guys like me with the hire could have anticipated. No way, shape, or form did I think that we'd have to draft a new quarterback. But that's the conversation we're having, because they're on a fast track to 0-16. Like they're halfway to 0-16, and you look at that schedule, and there aren't any games where you have any confidence that they're going to pull off a win here. So it's truly remarkable how much he has dismantled this team and how quickly.
I think that is a good spot to kind of jump a little bit. Juan says if the Pats lose all games, they have the number 1 overall pick. I don't think that's actually accurate.
It is.
We would be picking below them. I don't think they would have the number 1 overall pick. We need Jacksonville and the Giants to flub it up, because they still have, and I guess Houston too. But Houston and Jacksonville play each other this week, so one of those teams is going to get a little bit further. I don't think it's going to be Jacksonville. They're my biggest threat to the number 1 overall pick, I think. Matt, what are your thoughts on the Jets' prospects of getting the number 1 overall pick? What do you think of the Patriots and how they are probably going to screw us out of the number 1 overall pick? Talk to me.
Yeah, I think I'm going to put out the fire here. I don't think you have to worry about the New England Patriots, being in the mix for the number 1 pick. They are not in the same stratosphere of bad as the New York Jets. And I don't see how Bill Belichick is going to lose a game to Adam Gase this week, or even in week 17. There's no way. They are that bad. The Jets are not competitive in any way, shape, or form. They're losing by double digits each and every week. The Patriots, they've lost a bunch of games, but for the most part, they are in these games. I'm not worried about the Patriots at all in terms of being a candidate for the number 1 pick or for ruining the chances of the number 1 pick. To me, your biggest worries are Jacksonville and the Giants. To me, I think the Giants have probably a better shot at stumbling into another win or two the rest of this year. But Jacksonville, man, they very well could go 1-15. And if the Jets somehow find a win on this schedule, then there's your issue. But I have no concern right now about the New England Patriots.
Green Bean, what do you think about the Patriots? What do you think about the Jets possibly getting the 1st overall pick? What are your thoughts?
Well, this is why I hang out with guys like Matt O'Leary. You know, he for a moment there, I went, oh, you know, he's right. But here's the truth of it. Here's my truth. Okay, man. So Bill Belichick has 2 wins. He knows he plays us twice. He can lose to us and lose out, and he beats us for the higher pick, whether that's Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields. And he not only gets himself something and doesn't waste a losing season, which Bill Belichick is smart, man. He's maniacal smart. But he stops the Jets from getting what many are calling the greatest quarterback prospect. Look, he saw the Colts turn it around and go from so bad that John Elway wouldn't sign with them to getting Peyton Manning and being what they have been for the past 20 years. He knows what it's like before he got to the Patriots with Tom Brady. The Patriots were laughable, man. We didn't even consider the Patriots a true rivalry because they sucked that bad every single year. So I am afraid of the Patriots because there are only 2 games ahead of us and we play them twice. If we lose this week, it's going to be a huge deal for me because that's my main worry, not about suctitude, about they've been screwing us for 20 straight years. And this could be just another one of those times that the Patriots get one over on us. We're his favorite team to do it to. Don't forget, Spygate and all that kind of shit and all the other stuff. So I'm worried.
Ollie, what do you think about the Patriots, the prospects of getting the number 1 overall pick? What are your thoughts?
I'm gonna start off with the first overall pick. I feel like every Jets fan right now should be rooting for the tank. Everyone should be rooting for the 0-16 season, the worst team in NFL history, to show that this organization needs to get rebooted. Everyone needs to get the hell out of here, and they gotta start with a blank from scratch. That's what they need to do because, look, every year the Jets start 0-5 or whatever the series 1-4 or whatever it is, and then they win meaningless games in the end, and then they win 7 to 8 games, and they're like, oh, they can do something next year now. Oh, they got some momentum for the following year. Oh, they're gonna win more next year. That can't happen this year. That cannot happen. It will not happen this year because they will not win the game. And again, the Patriots are the only team that I could see that we could win against because how tricky and annoying they are as a team and an organization, because they don't want a prospect that's better that's supposedly going to be better than Andrew Luck coming into the division at all. So that's the only thing I see. But 0-16 should be on everyone's mind right now. I love the Jets, man, and I'm a loyal fan. But this is for the best. This is for the best for this team, and you need to go 0-16. Everyone needs to get rebooted. And I had enough of football this year of the New York Jets because it was sickening. It was sickening.
Look, I'll say this. I had $4 in my DraftKings account, and it just went on the Jets winning Monday night against the Patriots. I have no doubt in my mind the Jets are going to flub this up or Belichick's going to throw a game. We've seen Belichick cause a safety intentionally. Granted, that was to win a game. It would not shock me to see him accidentally get a safety and the Jets win a game. And then I don't think the Patriots are getting the number 1 overall pick, but I do think the Patriots are the biggest threat to the Jets not getting the number 1 overall pick, meaning the Jaguars will pick ahead of us. That's sort of my thoughts on that. Andrew says, what's the chance Gase blames Sam and returns in 2021? I am terrified of Adam Gase returning in 2021. Like, this is like so almost real for me that he doesn't seem like a guy who's coaching for his life. He doesn't seem like he's like going for it on 4th downs and just pulling all the stops out. Like, it just doesn't feel that way. It feels like he's in on this tank. Douglas, might feel like Gase brought him in and he owes him something. Chris Johnson doesn't want to admit fault. Who knows? Maybe if Woody doesn't come back, I think if Woody comes back, it's an easier way to say, okay, Gase, you're out the door. But if Chris Johnson is running the show and he doesn't want to admit fault with with the Adam Gase hire and everything going sideways, I'm really concerned that Adam Gase could be here next year. Greenby, what are you thinking about Gase and the 2021 coaching staff?
Yeah. I just think it's really important that we stop talking about shit like that, because if
someone's gonna see it and they're gonna be like, "Oh, light bulb."
Yeah, I'm with it, because there are so many excuses for this year. And then you have, Matt and I have shared numerous times. We agree that the relationship between Douglas and Gase is not as tight as everybody thinks it is, but I do still think it's there. And even more so than that, Gase got him the jobs with a little bit of Ionia and all that sort of stuff. So there needs to be a definitive decision. And I think what's going to happen is Chris Johnson is going to step in and, admit failure. I think that if we're 0-16, 1-15, after 7-9, 30-second offense, 2 years in a row, all that kind of stuff, I think Chris Johnson's going to be the one to take that bullet when it's all said and done. And then Joe Douglas is going to say, hey, man, that was Chris's decision, and that's just what I was told. And then he's the boss moving forward, Joe Douglas, that is. But it does scare me, man, because the excuses are there, and it doesn't seem like, can someone really be so stupid as to run around Mount Becton, get 12 yards, and then only do it one more time in the rest of the game? Like, can you be so stupid? I don't know. So it's the scariest thing in my world right now. Nothing in my life is scarier than that. That's a fucking Belichick.
Ollie, what do you think the chances of Gase coming back in 2021 are?
It's concerning, man. It's kind of it's scary to think about, man. It's very, very scary, but that's what the 0-16 is for. You can look at the 49ers. 49ers have lost their star quarterback. They've lost their tight end. They've lost their star pass rusher and Bosa, and they still compete. They lost their running back too. They lost everyone, and they're still competing in games. That's called good coaching, and that's what we should show Christopher Johnson. Be like, look at this team. You know, Mostert on the first play, what he did to you. Yeah, that team, it wrecked you guys, and they also are dealing with injuries. They're also dealing with their star quarterback being out for weeks, their star tight end being out for weeks, and they still win games. They still compete in games. And that's what you need to show them. Be like, here you go. This is what a coach does. Now fire him. That's what that needs to happen, because 0-16 is inexcusable. I don't care who you're playing. There has to be firings, or there will actually be fans at Florham Park. There will be fans there saying they were not going to leave. They're not going to leave because of security. There's not going to be 2 fans there like last time. But again, it scares the crap out of me, but he should be gone.
Matt, what do you think about Adam Gase and the prospects of him returning for the 2021 season?
There is a 0% chance Adam Gase is back next year. There's no way that they bring him back. I understand the fear, but it's not happening. Woody Johnson is going to come back, and regardless of what happens, he's going to get back in the mix, and he's going to be the guy to save the day. And does he make the right decision and hire somebody good? I don't know, but Adam Gase is going to get fired. My biggest fear is that they are going to replace Adam Gase with a big name hire like Jim Harbaugh, which is someone who I'm really not that big of a fan of at this point. To make a big splashy kind of move like that. Now, Jim Harbaugh should be much better than Adam Gase, but the point is, I'm more worried about them making the next hire than I am not firing this guy. He's gone. Adam Gase is the worst coach in football. So my concern is more with them making the right decision with who they hire, not firing the worst coach in football.
Yeah, I would hope that they would just completely move on from Adam Gase, and then we only have to decide which of these next heir apparents are going to be the Jets 2021 head coach. I want to get into the Avery Williamson trade because that broke late last night. The Jets send Avery Williamson and a 2022 7th-round pick to the Pittsburgh Steelers for a 2022 5th-round pick. Matt, how did you feel about the compensation? And give me your thoughts.
Yeah, I think it was a good move from Joe Douglas. Unfortunately, Avery Williamson's not a part of this team's future. They were going to go 0-16 with him on the roster. They're likely going to go 0-16 without him on the roster. And to be honest with you, he hasn't really played all that great this year. He is slow, trying to cover anyone out of the backfield. It was rough, especially against Kansas City, who, we know they have a ton of speed on offense. So he's going to help out on that Pittsburgh team. They have a really good defense. He doesn't have to be the guy. And he goes to a much better situation, and the Jets move up 2 rounds. You give up Avery Williamson, who's not going to be here next year, in a 7th to get a 5th rounder. Sure, that's a good move. And then when you look at what the Chargers just got for trading a former All-Pro, it looks even better.
Greenbean, how are you feeling about the Avery Williamson trade?
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I might have even seen this on Matt O'Leary's Instagram. Did Avery Williamson give up 13 passes for 190 yards yesterday? Is that really what happened?
I believe
he got beat like a drum, and 2 touchdowns. That was Nania, right, that posted that?
Yes.
I definitely saw it. I saw it on Matt's Instagram too. That was definitely definitely from Nania.
And Matt and I were talking about it during the live stream. It's like Avery Williamson was not helping his stock yesterday. So the idea that we were able to get something for a guy who has 8 games left on his contract is not in the future plans. The fact that we could get that for him, hey man, you get something. You get something while you can. And I think I would have loved to have seen more. I think that his value was higher at other times, but I'll take it. I think it was a smart trade, and not for nothing. I think it was good for Avery Williamson too, and it looks like a solid by Joe Douglas. Look, I took chump change to give this guy a better situation, very similar to McClendon and some others. So I think it was good.
Ollie, what were your thoughts on the Avery Williamson trade?
No, I loved it. Because, look, it's a dead season. It's a dead season. And like all of you guys saying that he's not going to make an impact on the win-loss column. He's not. And the one thing that actually counts, Joe Douglas has the most respect around the league. And doing this for a player and their agent, they will know that. And players that the agent he has, they're going to talk about Joe Douglas being this good guy, going to trading this player who is working his butt off and not really, it's not a winning team. And now he went straight to a completeless, a disaster to a chance of a Super Bowl ring. So that goes a long way for a player and the organization perspective, because I've seen this narrative everywhere on Twitter saying that, oh, who would want to play with the New York Jets next year? Why would Allen Robinson want to come next year? Oh, because of Joe Douglas. Because the head coaching is not going to be here anymore. There's going to be a completely different team. There's going to be possible new young quarterback coming in. So all that factors in. I think it was a great trade. You have 20 picks in the next 2 years. That's a lot about building the future, and that's what Joe Douglas is doing. And right now, he looks like he's succeeding right now, and I hope for the best, man. I hope it works for him.
Yeah, so one thing that I've brought up was the idea that the Jets are not a great franchise right now, because we are not taking Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields before free agency. Like, you got to kind of take a step back and see, all right, well, what are the Jets going to do? You would hope if they get the first pick, Trevor Lawrence, the new head coach, comes in, and then there's a lot more hope, and then you probably attract some free agents just because of that. But let's say the Jets pick second, third. The Jets are going to have a very interesting situation, and with the cap likely falling to $176 million next year, that means there's going to be a lot of teams that are over the salary cap. I think with Douglas accumulating some of these late-round picks, I think there's an opportunity for the Jets to acquire good players on bad contracts that would have otherwise been cut to save salary cap space, but the team will be willing to take on a 7th, a 6th-round pick in lieu of just releasing the guy. And the Jets then get a better talent than they otherwise would have attracted in the free agent market. So I think there's some strategy with these draft picks, along with the possibility of actually taking the players in these rounds. But it wouldn't shock me to see the Jets, say come July, come August, to start wheeling and dealing players that would have otherwise been cut. So I think that's something to keep an eye on. Andrew P. says, Jet Nation, do you think Herndon should be cut after this season? Chris Herndon has been terrible this year. He's been the biggest disappointment, I think, by far. I would say him and then McGovern for me would be the two guys that I'm really disappointed in this season. Chris Herndon had 3 yards and a fumble yesterday. That was all he had. He had one more target than he should have had the entire day. Ali, what do you think about Chris Herndon?
Is it part of the Gase effect, or is it part of, him just sucking? I think it's more of the Gase effect, man. I mean, look, he had a lot of promise in his rookie year. I mean, especially the Sam Darnold, Chris Herndon duo looked amazing. And, we thought when coming to this year, oh, they're healthy. Ryan Griffin's healthy. This tight end group is going to be solid this year. This tight end group is going to be a threat. And it's been nothing other than that. And I don't think they've been really utilizing Chris Herndon. I feel like they just target him once and he makes a mistake. They target him in the third quarter, and obviously he's going to make a mistake. How about the first half? Have you targeted a tight end in the first half? Hell no. That's why maybe he sucks, because you're not giving him a chance to move. I don't know what's going on with Chris Herndon. I hope because it's just because of the Adam Gase effect. But again, it's definitely concerning because we all had high hopes for Chris Herndon.
Green Bean, how are you feeling about Chris Herndon?
Yeah, I hope it's the Gase effect. That's the only thing residing in my brain that gives him any leeway at all, because it is. I mean, I might even be worried about the guy. I mean, something's wrong. I don't know if he's sick. I mean, what is it? He drops passes, fumbles more than he makes receptions. But if you look at the overall picture, where's Griffin? Where's West? Where are these tight ends? It's the craziest thing. It's almost as if our offense is tight endless. We don't have any real involvement from the entire position. So that's why I'm willing to give him a little bit of credit. I wouldn't say pay him. I don't know. This is the end of his,
one more.
He's got one more year.
Yeah, I would keep him and let him fight it out in training camp with the next coaching staff. And see where it goes. But I mean, he's starting in a hole, in my opinion.
Matt, what are your thoughts on Herndon?
Yeah, he's certainly been disappointing. I had extremely high hopes for him. And I think part of it is his lack of usage, why there's so many mistakes. So he's not like mentally checked in and ready to go. If you're getting your first target in the second half, I don't know how you could expect the guy to be that mentally in it to the point where he's going to be able to make a play and be like, okay, yeah, let's get this guy more targets. And with him being under contract for one more year on his rookie deal, I bring him back and have him fight it out and prove with a legitimate coach, a probably a new quarterback in Trevor Lawrence, and a completely new system. Give it one more go. I tend to believe it's more the Adam Gase effect, but I mean we could be wrong here. It sucks. I really thought this was a guy who could be a top 15 tight end in football, and he has like 100 receiving yards and a million fumbles on the year.
Yeah, I think for me, Chris Herndon, with the 1 year left on his contract, I think it would be silly to get rid of him because the cap space just isn't a whole lot that we're going to be giving up. We're going to have $80 million in cap space next year. I really question if the Jets are even going to have enough talent brought in to use up all that cap space anyway. So I would hold on to Herndon. Like Green Bean said, the whole tight end position has been really weird. We gave Ryan Griffin a brand new contract, and he just has been invisible. Wesco has been invisible. Herndon has been invisible. So I would like to believe it's the Gase effect. I'm willing to roll the dice on that. Worst case scenario, you're just throwing the guy out, before the end of training camp next year, and then I think you go from there. But I would like to give it a new shot with a new quarterback, a new head coach, new offensive scheme. I think that would be a good thought. I wanted to get into this topic before I get into Jordan's comment. And he says, Andrew goes, what position should we attack at Seattle's pick? I have a thought for it, but I'll go around with you guys. Ali, who do you see the Jets going after, or position-wise maybe, what do you think we go after with the Seattle pick?
Thinking if we get Trevor Lawrence, obviously, with the first overall pick, I probably would go either a wide receiver or a lineman. I think that's what the Jets fans want, and I think that's what the Jets team needs right now. Especially, you got to build around your quarterback. They have to get this right this time. They need to build around your quarterback. They ruined Sam Darnold because they did not do that. They need to do that this time around if they're going to draft Trevor Lawrence and how big of a prospect he actually is. So you obviously have Mekhi Becton. You have Mekhi Becton, who's an absolute monster. And you got to build from that. You got to build that O-line, who's absolutely been terrible this year. And, you have a stud in Denzel Mims. He's shown flashes, and you got to work with that too. And maybe get another free agency, wide out or whatever it is. So I think it would either be O-line. It has to be offense. It has to be offense.
Green Bean, what do you think we do with Seattle's pick? Oh. Green Bean can't hear you.
Sorry. I was yelling at my kids a minute ago. I had to put it on mute. Just give it to me, you black. So here's the thing. Here's the exciting thing about that Seattle pick. More than likely, it's going to be in the last 5 or 6 picks, maybe even the last pick. They're pretty hot this year. We have the first pick, assuming we get the first pick, and like Ali said, we get Trevor Lawrence. So we got Trevor Lawrence with the first pick, and then we have essentially 2 picks in a row at the end of the first and beginning of the second. That enables us to have a little bit more flexibility than maybe if it was just, we only have this one first-round pick, and then we got to wait 32 more picks until we go again. So I can see if there's a blue chip type of an edge rusher that makes it there, and we're going to take the wide receiver the next pick or 2 picks later, I can see that happening. What I would like to see is a wide receiver there and Najee Harris at the second round pick. I think if we do that, we bring the quarterback, his wide receiver, and his running back all in with the first, really the first chunk of picks that we have. I think that would change the dynamic of this team, especially when you add in that we already have Denzel Mims and guys like Crowder running around potentially and all that. I think the third round is we have 2 of those. That's when you grab your center and a guard. So that's how I see it. But we've got a lot of time, so don't hold me to this shit. Everybody's going to get mad at me and say, you said. But that's what I'm thinking currently.
Matt, what do you think the Jets do with the Seattle pick in the first round?
See, I'm really glad we got this question because I recorded a mock draft video today that's coming out tomorrow. My first mock is coming out tomorrow. So I'll give you the guy that I have taken there, and it's wide receiver Rashad Bateman. He's from Minnesota. He's a yards after the catch guy. And the reason why I like that is because then you have a yards after the catch guy where you get him the ball in space and let him do his thing. You have Denzel Mims on the other side, who is a big red zone threat, go up and get the ball. And then Jamison Crowder in the slot. Whether it's Sam Darnold, whether it's Trevor Lawrence, whatever the case may be, you are setting the quarterback up for success if that is where your offense is going. So I would very much so like to see a wide receiver taken there. If Bateman's on the board, which I think he will be at that point, if it's somewhere between 25 and 32, then that's who I'd be taking.
All right, so I'm going to throw a little bit of a curveball here. I'll say yes, if the Jets keep the pick, I want a guard or a wide receiver, someone to help the offense. If ETN's there, I would be down with ETN. I think he's phenomenal. I think he's going to go probably mid first round, so I don't think he'll be there. But I have a different thought process, but it's before the draft. And I don't know if it's possible, but we've talked about the whole cap space thing being an issue, and teams going to have to shed a bunch of cap space to try and move on to whatever their 2021 season is going to be. The New Orleans Saints are $100 million over the salary cap. Now, if I'm the Jets and I'm Joe Douglas, I would offer up our Seattle pick. I would offer up Sam Darnold. And you could probably talk me into another third-round pick to go out and get Sean Payton, head coach, bring him in. He's been in New York. He's a big-time personality. He is an offense guy. Head coach is not a thing that generally gets traded. I believe there's been 4 in the history of the NFL. Let me see. It could be – actually, it might even be 3. So you got Herm Edwards. 2
of them are us.
Yeah, 2 of them are us. Herm Edwards was traded for a 4th-round draft pick. You had – Gruden was traded for 2 firsts and I believe it was 2 seconds. I think 1, 2, 3. Yeah. And then Belichick was traded from the Jets to the Patriots. And that was for what? A first and 2 firsts? 2000 first overall selection 2000 and a 4th and a 7th. Oh, so just one first round pick, I guess. Yeah, so look, Sean Payton's someone I would consider giving away draft picks for. I think he is that good of a head coach. There's going to be other guys that you could bring in for sure. Like if you could somehow lure Swinney or Riley or Urban Meyer or some of these big-name head coaches. But to me, I love Sean Payton. I think with the Saints being so far over the salary cap, Drew Brees likely being done at the end of his career, there could be a situation where the Saints go to Payton and they say, hey, do you want to go through a rebuild? It's going to take us 2 years to reset this cap. Or, hey, there's an opportunity here. Would you like to go coach Trevor Lawrence? I think the only way that happens is if the Jets get the number 1 overall pick. And even then, it's still probably far-fetched from there. I don't really see that as a likely situation. But that is my my curveball that I would throw out there for Sean Payton. Jordan says, what do you think about Bill O'Brien? He has a winning record, even with how bad of a season it was, how bad the season was. In 1994, we fired a coach who became a good coach later on in Pete Carroll. Ali, you're shaking your head. What do you think about Bill O'Brien?
He's power. He wants power, and that's what Adam Gase is too. He wants the power. He wants to be the GM. He wants to be the head coach. And look, he's not an option. He's not an option in my book. He's never going to be an option in my book. Same thing with Adam Gase. Adam Gase was never an option in my book, but we got him anyway. So it would be a Jets move to have that happen. I mean, it's just written in the books. I mean, that's like you guys said earlier in this live. I mean, I don't trust this ownership to make the right decision. I trust Joe Douglas. If Joe Douglas makes a decision, I trust that. I don't trust the ownership to make the right decision on getting the right coach of whoever is quarterback next year. So, I mean, Bill O'Brien is an absolute no for me. But I don't know about you guys, how you guys feel about that. But, yeah, he's a no.
Green Bean, how do you feel about Bill O'Brien?
He's my number 1 guy. You guys know that. I'm not as down on Bill O'Brien as a head coach as maybe some others are. I'm not hoping we go there, but we could do worse if Joe Douglas makes it known, look, buddy, I'm the GM. I think Bill Bryan is a very, very good head coach. He's done very well in Texas or in Houston, Houston, Texas. That's the problem, has been his personnel decisions. And like Ali said, that power, he got the GM kind of pushed out, and he made some crazy ass moves, man. They don't have a first this year. As great as Tunsil is, they don't have a first or a second this year because of that trade. So I'm hoping that we go another route. But again, I think even if Bill O'Brien was in the last pool, he would have been near the top of that batch of guys too. So I don't know. I would hope we don't do it, but we could do worse.
Matt, what do you think about Bill O'Brien?
No, I don't like it. Would be really, really bad. It would be kind of like a repeat of this almost. I mean, I think the Texans, especially under Deshaun Watson, they won in spite of their poor coaching. To me, he has some of the same tendencies that like the Adam Gases, Mike McCarthy of the worlds have with their offensive gurus of the past. I'm all good, man. I want to get younger, more fun, more exciting. Bill O'Brien doesn't do that.
Yeah, no, right. He doesn't get the stamp of approval in my book. I would steer clear away from him. Now, one thing I did want to, I guess, touch on, and I haven't seen it pop up in the comments just yet, is Eric Bieniemy. We got to see him week 8 a little bit. How did you guys feel? For me, when I'm looking at Bieniemy, I know Green Bean said it in the past, you don't like taking on coordinators that are under their head coach who have the same specialty. So Andy Reid, offensive guy, bring in Bieniemy, offensive guy, who's really calling the plays. My biggest concern is, like, aside from the play calling, is I don't really know what he does. When Patrick Mahomes was done with a play, if he went to the sidelines, it wasn't Bieniemy that was talking to him. It was Mike Kafka, the quarterback coach. So I would like to steer clear from Bieniemy. I know it's going to be a hot name, a popular name for the Jets. Ali, what are your thoughts on Bieniemy and the Kansas City Chiefs offensive coordinator?
Yeah, I need some more research on him. I mean, obviously he's in a perfect scenario right now. He's in a perfect scenario with Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback, Tyreek Hill as your wide receiver. I mean, that team is loaded on offense. It's loaded, and I don't really know what he does because Reid is calling all the plays, and I don't know how good of Eric. I mean, the players love him. I mean, the players all love him. So maybe that aspect of it might work because he could be a good locker room coach. But it's a very big question mark. I mean, I was talking to one of my other friends. He's a Falcons fan, and they're going to be looking for a head coach too this offseason. And, he said a big no to that too because he's just like, look, it's Patrick Mahomes at quarterback right now. He does stuff that no one has ever seen any quarterback do ever. Like, even our touchdown against us. I mean, he just tossed it like this. And I don't know how the hell he did that. But again, yeah, he's under such a good scheme. He's under such a great offense. I don't know how to judge him off just the Chiefs in general.
Matt, how are you feeling about Bieniemy and what we saw yesterday?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought this up because I saw that in your video today, and Green Bean was talking about it last week. I really couldn't disagree with you guys more on this, to be completely honest with you. He is involved in the game planning. That is pretty well known that he is involved in coming up with the game plan, and he has a headset on. He's not the one who's putting in the plays, but him and Andy Reid. Well, I should say it like this. Andy Reid goes to him with the plays, and they kind of see if they're on the same page with it. So, yes, technically he isn't the one calling the plays in. But when you look at the Andy Reid coaching tree, and even guys who were on the offensive side of the ball, like Matt Nagy and Doug Peterson, both those guys have had success away from Andy Reid. And Reid said 2 years ago that he feels that Eric Bieniemy is ready to take that next step from an offensive coordinator role to a head coaching role. And Reid is someone that I really trust. I think he's probably the second best head coach in football right now, if not second, top 5 at worst. So I'm a lot higher on Bieniemy than you guys are, which is fine. He's not number 1 on my list, but I would be by no means upset if Eric Bieniemy is the head coach of the Jets next year.
Green Bean, how are you feeling about Bieniemy after what we saw?
Well, I agree. Like, that was something that we were actually talking about. It was, look at Mahomes on the sideline. He has staff with him. I mean, Sam Darnold sits alone, he just sits alone. Nobody cares. The players make fun of him. and stuff. So, but he had a coach, but like you said, it's his quarterback coach, which the Jets don't have. So there's that. But like I said, I don't think poorly of Eric Bieniemy. I think that we have to remember what it is that we're dealing with here. We are not the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is the New York Jets. The moment if you don't come out of the gate and look impressive, they're going to start ripping you up. Look at Manish Mehta. He's going to find guys that hate you, and they're going to do big exposés on the breakup you had in 1999 or whatever it is. So that's what we're dealing with. And the Jets fans fly banners over the, fire them. Like, that's how we are here. A first-time coach who's only been an offensive coordinator for 2 years, guys. 2 years. He was a running backs coach just 3 years ago. He's the kind of guy that scares the living hell out of me. We've been here before. Whether it's Bruce Coslett, whether it's Pete Carroll. Don't forget, we're the ones who gave Pete Carroll his first head coaching job when he was a defensive coordinator for 3 years. That was us. He failed miserably. So we've done it with Joe Walton. We've done it with Todd Bowles. Like, we're always the guy to give them their first shot when they're the hot coordinator. What I hope we do is somebody who's done this at more than one spot and has done it with more than one group of players and has had success for longer than one little batch, one little Super Bowl run, where he's more than likely not even calling the plays. Look, as you guys might know, I was a director. I was an executive for many years. And I had guys that I would groom underneath me, and they were my right hand. And then they would eventually get their own position. I would say, I would promote them and say, yep, the guy is ready. And they would go, and sometimes they would crash and burn. And that was because they didn't have me anymore. Making their own decisions as the final say is a big deal. Don't forget clock management, when to throw the flag, when to score, when not to score, when to call timeouts, all those kinds of things. That falls to the head coach. And some of these guys that are excellent with their position, with their side of the ball, they can't do it, man. And that's the thing. Eric Bieniemy scares me with that. Again, he's only been a coordinator for 2 years, and he's under Reed. The best point against my position is what Matt just said. It's the Reed coaching tree. The Reed coaching tree is one of the most impressive that we have that's recent. You got the older coaching trees, the Bill Walsh, the Parcells, you got all those guys. The Andy Reid coaching tree is impressive, man. And that he's got that going for him. That all said, this is the exact type of coach that we've tried to grab numerous times, and it has never worked. I hope we steer clear.
Adam Gase had a generational quarterback, was on the offensive side of the ball, and gave him a shot, didn't work out. Eric Bieniemy has a generational quarterback, Patrick Mahomes. I'm a little scared, Matt. You have me worried. Look, I wouldn't be upset if we go with Bieniemy. I'm not upset because it does look like the players do really like him. But he's definitely not my first option by any stretch of the imagination. Chris says, wouldn't surprise me if Jim Harbaugh comes here. Matt, your thoughts?
Oh, man, I really don't like Jim Harbaugh. I think he's underwhelmed in Michigan. His gimmick wears thin quickly, too. So that's not a long-term thing. You bring him in for 3 years. He stinks for the first year because I don't know how they could do anything next year. Even if they draft Lawrence, they still are going to be a rebuilding team. And then maybe have a 1 or 2 year window after that. And then he was probably going to, wear thin and go on and wreak havoc somewhere else. I think you, again, want to go younger. You want to go innovative. You don't want to go with the guy who was good in this league 10 years ago. You want the new up and coming thing.
Green Bean, your thoughts on Harbaugh?
Yeah, Matt said it perfectly. It's a gimmick, man. People get inspired by him, and then they get tired of him. The reason that he works in college is because guys are gone in 2 and 3 years. But that even said, I have a couple very close friends that are diehard Michigan fans, and the way that they see him is that he is, I love the word underwhelming. He's underwhelming, but the way that they really see him is that he misuses talent. Look at a great example is Donovan Peoples-Jones. How when he was a 5-star recruit, came to Jim Harbaugh, went to Michigan, and all of a sudden he was an afterthought, catching 20 balls a year and all that kind of stuff. It's not because he lost his talent. It's because of Harbaugh's style of offense. And Michigan fans, the ones that I communicate with, hate it. They hope that somebody takes them. So,
Ali, how you feeling about Harbaugh?
Yeah, I think if he goes get a head coaching job, I think his best fit would be in Atlanta. I don't know. I feel like a lot of people like him in Atlanta. I mean, I've talked to a lot of fans as well, who are Falcons fans, and they love Harbaugh, and they're probably going to go after Harbaugh hard if he wants to leave Michigan, of course. But he has a lot going on in Michigan, and he hasn't really done anything there yet. So again, I wouldn't want Harbaugh at all.
Yeah, I would say I would steer clear of him. He feels like the offensive version of Greg Williams, where he's in a spot for a little bit, rubs people the wrong way, and then is just his way or the highway. And I don't think that's necessarily how the Jets have to handle their players. Oh, our boy Jets Media's in the chat. He says, "What's good, boys? Richie, how you doing?" Richie was on with us last week. Good to see you, dude.
Up?
Yeah. Let's see. What are we talking about in the chat here? Let me see. I saw something with Joe Brady. Where did that pop up to?
Hey, what's the score of the Giants game?
The Giants are up.
7-3 Giants.
Ooh, man.
Let's go.
Daniel Jones, I'm a big fan right now. Got to get that.
Huge.
Just
Way
keep
back.
knocking them down. Then we need the Jaguars to win this week. That's all I'm hoping for. Just if
the Jags
the Jets,
win, that's good.
And then the Jets are going to win.
Well, that's the biggest thing. That's what's gonna happen. Jets are beating the Patriots. It's gonna happen. We're gonna screw this up, and then we're gonna be sweating it out all season. I hate it. This team.
I promise the Jets will lose by 10 to 14 points against the Patriots.
I really hope so. If they start Jarrett Stidham, I might cry. He sucks. Okay, where's Joe Brady? All right, I don't know where the initial comment is, but that's why the Jets should go after Joe Brady is what they're talking about. How do you guys feel about Joe Brady, the offensive coordinator for the Carolina Panthers? I'll rattle off a little bit about him real quick so the fans out there know a little bit about him. So this year, he's the offensive coordinator for the Panthers. Last year, he was the LSU passing game coordinator and wide receivers coach. So for those of you out there, Justin Jefferson, great wide receiver for LSU.
Great.
Jamar Chase, another fantastic receiver for LSU coming out this year. He worked with those guys. And then he was an offensive assistant with the New Orleans Saints from 2017 to 2018. And then before that, it looks like he had a little bit of work on the defensive side. He was a linebackers coach 2013, 2014. My biggest fear with him, he just turned 31. He's a really exciting prospect for a head coach. I think his biggest knock is going to be whether or not he can build a coaching staff at such a young age. With only 1 year in the NFL, although I guess it's not 1 year because I guess he was with the Saints as well. But I think there's some concern with how well he could put together an offensive staff after 1 year. Matt, what are your thoughts on Joe Brady?
Love him. Has success wherever he goes. LSU put up historic numbers on offense last year. I think people forget, before the season, months and months ago, everyone was saying the Panthers are going to go 2-14. They were competitive. They lost to the Falcons this week, a game they probably should have won, but they are winning games. Teddy Bridgewater is throwing for 300 yards every week. Robbie Anderson, who is supposedly just a deep threat, is third in receiving yards or second in receiving yards, something crazy like that. He is getting a ton out of his guys, and that offense looks completely different with, let's face it, Teddy Bridgewater's where would you put him in the quarterback ranking? Somewhere in the 20s, probably, right?
Yeah, right. Middle of the pack. Best.
Right. He's okay. But if you put him with a guy like Lawrence, we saw what he did with Joe Burrow at LSU. I understand that's college, but let's not pretend like the SEC is some terrible conference where all they do is, just throw for 1 million yards every week. We've seen Rule come in and have success early. We've seen Kingsbury come into league and have success. So I'm really not scared of these guys who don't have a ton of NFL experience. I think they are hyped up for a reason, and I think Joe Brady is going to be a very, very good head coach. Someone's going to give him the keys to their franchise this upcoming year, and they're going to be a smart team because I think he's an extremely smart guy.
Green Bean, what are your thoughts on Joe Brady?
Yeah, I like him too. I would say that it's probably in his best interest to simmer for another year to 2 years. I think that's going to be best. Again, you got to remember the Jets are not any other team, and I say this over and over again, right? It's just like with injuries when you bring in, Perryman, Dotson, and Mims, and you think we're good. It's like you can't do that here. You need more. It's got to be overkill. We have to pay attention to what I like to call the Jets curse. I mean, dude, you can say what you want about that shit, but it's real. You know what I mean? I don't know what it really is, but whatever it is, it exists. Guys that are newer to the fray more than likely are going to have a harder time here, especially when you add the intensity of our fans and media. And then the Giants big brother bullshit that we have a lot of crazy things going on here that takes a very strong individual. That said, I think Joe Brady, I agree with Matt. I think he's one of the most talented guys out there right now. I just don't see him coming here and being the guy. I would be nervous with that because like what you said, Ryan, he's I don't know about his ability to get guys and all that, but I thought Matt Rule was brilliant to hire him. I thought that was a great move.
Ali, what are your thoughts on Joe Brady, the offensive coordinator for the Carolina Panthers?
I think he might be the young, minded guy that the Jets maybe need. I mean, the Jets need to go young. And if you're getting a young guys, if you have 20 draft picks in the next 2 years, you're going to have hopefully 20 new rookies coming in. And that's a lot. And you need a young guy to coach these guys. And if we're trying to get younger, that's what a lot of these other teams, successful teams, are doing. I think the Jets need to do the same thing. And, Brady has had really, really good, seasons with other teams, and he's had success. And I think that's what the Jets need. It's a good, I wouldn't be upset if they took a shot and it doesn't work, because at least they're taking a shot at a young guy and seeing if it actually can work, rather than taking Adam Gase, who is not a proven guy. He hasn't proven anything in his career. At least you're taking a shot on a guy that has potential. He has a young mindset. He's appealing to the young audience as well. So that's a lot to bring to an organization. But again, he could help a young quarterback. I mean, Trevor Lawrence would probably be oh, I can get a young offensive coordinator and who's been in college, who has all this stuff. So I think it would be a good hire. I would not mind that at all.
I like Joe Brady a lot. I get the feeling he probably will not come to the Jets, mainly because of the Matt Rule connection. I think Matt Rule's probably going to get in his ear, because if the Jets request to interview him, he's going to say, oh, well, hey, that ownership group, they didn't want me to hire my own coaching staff. They're going to meddle in my affairs, and I don't think it's probably worth you going to the Jets. That's the reason why I think Joe Brady's probably not coming here. I would be pretty happy with it. I do think the Jets need some type of offensive head coach. I don't know if I want to go a young route, but not necessarily a guy who maybe isn't proven in the head coaching realm, just because we have the opportunity, if we get the first overall pick, to really have whoever we want. And for me, Joe Brady just isn't the top option at my list right now. That could change. I mean, if I see something throughout the rest of the year, or maybe someone's got a clip of him just being absolutely wild in the locker room, the guys love him, and I don't know. I could have my opinion swayed, but right now I don't think he's going to be the guy. Guys, if you want your shot to win a hat, shirt, or mug at the end of the show, or a Just End the Suffering shirt, down in the description down below, there's a link to the Flick chat. There is a poll question of the day. Grade the Avery Williamson trade. We got 20 votes right now. So all you got to do is go down there, vote on that, and you can get yourself a hat, shirt, or mug that I will raffle off at the end of the show. All right, our buddy NY Sports MC says, who is most likely to get traded before the deadline on the Jets? This is where we thought we were going to be going with this trade deadline special. Green Bean, I'll throw it to you first. Who do you see as players that could be traded or most likely traded?
Well, let me say I'm surprised. I expected it to be a little bit more action-packed than this, maybe one or two more. What I see as really realistic options right now, I think it would be smart to trade Brian Poole, unless we're going to offer him a long, 3-year contract kind of a thing. I think it would be really smart to get something for him. I think it would be really smart to get something for Jordan Jenkins, a 6th round pick, kind of whatever it was. I would take it for Jordan Jenkins. The guy I don't want to see traded is Crowder. I would really love to keep him next year for whoever the quarterback is. But I think Poole, Jordan Jenkins, and May are the 3 guys I see probably most realistically getting traded. I think one of those is almost a guarantee. I think we're definitely trading at least one more person. It's my thought.
Ali, what are your thoughts on the Jets and who's most likely to get traded before tomorrow's 4:00 deadline?
I would say Jordan Jenkins, but again, a lot comes up with his injuries. He has a couple injuries right now he's dealing with, and he has to pass his physical to get that trade going. So, I think he has the value. I think teams would call for Jordan Jenkins, but again, he's dealing with a lot of injuries, and he's a mess. He's a mess right now. So, we'll see if any team has absolutely any interest, and Douglas gets another draft pick out of him. But another guy, I feel like a lot of people said he was going to be very active, but Marcus May, I don't think he's going to be traded. I think they're trying to keep him, especially with Ashton Davis struggling. I think they want someone to teach him, and I think he's a guy that you build off of, especially with that secondary building a little bit, with Bless Austin having a pretty decent game yesterday, and he's been improving slowly. So I think they were going to stay with him. So I don't think the Jets are going to be very active, but we'll see.
Matt, what about you? Who do you think could be up next on the trade block for the Jets?
Yeah, I think they keep Marcus May and Jamison Crowder. I think those are the 2 guys who could have value that they're going to end up holding on to. I would like to see Jordan Jenkins traded because I would like Huff to get as many reps as possible on the edge and see if he can be a rotational guy next year. I don't know if he would be the guy, but I'm all about having as much edge help as you possibly can get. And I think Poole's going to get traded just because he's on a 1-year deal. I don't know if you're going to bring him back. Yes, he's very good, but I don't know how much it's helping you this year. And if you're not going to bring him back, then why not flip him for a 3rd round pick and just continue to get, or a 4th or whatever you can get for him, and just continue to build this thing up through the draft. So I think those are the 2 guys that get moved. I'm running through the roster in my head right now. I don't really see a ton of other guys who can have much value there, if any. So I'll say Poole and Jenkins also get traded.
Yeah, I have to agree. I would not like to see Crowder or May moved. Those are the 2 guys I'd like to hold on to. Poole, I would like to hold on to him. He's been really good in the slot for us. I think he's shown to be steady in that respect. I think he probably holds a good amount of trade value. Jordan Jenkins, I would love to trade. I really don't. I think he's fool's gold anyway. I don't think he's a very good player. I was shocked we actually brought him back this year. So yeah, I'll say Poole, I'll say Jenkins. Those would be the 2 guys that I'll kind of go with there. J Ruck, Entertainment, Music, and Media says, well, think fellas, if the Jets ownership does not allow certain amount of control, then really thinking who will want to come or who will come to coach. I guess this is a good point to sort of plug our guy that we particularly want for head coach. I've heard Matt and Green Bean before, so I'm going to start with Ali. Who do you think would be a good head coach for this New York Jets team next year?
That's a good question. I've looked at all the coaching candidates, and there's gonna be a lot of competition for the Jets just coming into this year. There's a lot of teams looking for head coaching, but at the top of my list it's hard, man. I mean, I looked at all the options, man, and I just don't understand who would want to come coach here because if the ownership's making the decision, I don't know who wants to coach here, but Joe Brady's obviously, we talked about him earlier. I think he's a really, really good option, man. I've done a lot of research on him. I actually have an article ready for when Adam Gase gets fired. I have an article ready to go in my drafts. But Joe Brady's on the top of my list, man. I think he has a dead talent. I think he's been good his entire coaching career. He's coached around some great guys, and Even in like with the Panthers, like Matt was saying earlier, no one thought this team was gonna be very good, and the Panthers were not gonna be a good team, and they've completely changed up their entire scheme. They've looked better, and Matt Rule wanted that. He was a guy that I wanted to bring in myself. That's who I wanted as my head coach this year, and it's sad that I'm happy for him succeeding with Robbie Anderson and all that, but Joe Brady would be a good hire for the Jets, and it would be a risky hire, but it would be a good hire.
Green Bean, your thoughts on the Jets' next head coach? Who's your guy?
Greg motherfucking Roman. That's my guy. and let me tell you, look, and we've been, you guys have heard my spiel with this guy, but again, for me, the most important thing for me, it's not that I don't like some of these guys. I do. There are very few guys that are being talked about that I don't like. I don't like Todd Monken. I don't like Harbaugh. And Bieniemy, I'm just not as high on as some others, and I have concerns. But the way I see it, I want someone who's done this for a long time, who's done it with more than one player, more than one run, and more than one team. That's what I like. And then when you start getting into that, then you got the next tier of what I deem important: personality traits, personality types. Again, Greg Roman is from Atlantic City. He's a hard ass. He's not a jerk off, you know what I mean? But he's a hard ass, and he's a teacher. I like everything about Greg Roman. Yeah, I know his offense had a week or two that it wasn't as dynamic as it has been. That doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. It just is what it is. Everybody's going to have that in coaching. But that's why I like Greg Roman so much. And the good news for me is that I believe Joe Douglas, that connection with him. Don't forget, Chad Alexander was on the Ravens last year. There's a tightness between these guys, and him and Joe Douglas look just like each other too. So there's that.
Matt, what do you think about Greg Roman? Or sorry, not Greg Roman. What do you think about the head coaching search for next year, and who's your guy?
Well, I like Greg Roman. I would be happy with him. I'd be happy with Joe Brady also. Arthur Smith is number one on my list. I love what he's done in Tennessee. I think he is extremely creative with the play calling. He is someone who relies on the run and play action a lot, which I'm not necessarily opposed to. I just think he's playing to their strength, because that's obviously when you have Derrick Henry, you're going to give him the ball a bunch. And then if you run play action, that makes your life easier for your quarterback. Go figure. No one told Adam Gase that. But I think Arthur Smith is definitely someone who is going to get a head coaching job, whether it's with the Falcons or the Texans, or if it's with us. I definitely think he gets hired for what he's done in the second half of last year and throughout this year so far with Tennessee. They're a really good team. He's not the only guy that I like. He's probably number one, though. Like I said, I don't mind either of the two candidates that these two gentlemen brought up either. I could see them going the college route, but I really want no part of Harbaugh. I think that's the drum I'm gonna beat, the no to Jim Harbaugh drum.
Right. Yeah, I think I'm sort of following with Green Bean here. I think Greg Roman has the highest likelihood of becoming the head coach. He was an offensive line assistant with the Ravens when Joe Douglas was a scout there. So I think they do have that little bit of connection, along with some of the staff that we currently have in. And Douglas's connections there. So I think that's a popular decision, the way he handled Kaepernick, Alex Smith, Tyrod Taylor, Lamar Jackson. Part of me feels like maybe he becomes – I think he's more valuable to the team that wants to draft like Trey Lance. Like, he feels like a very Greg Roman-style quarterback to me. Maybe if I'm going outside of the Greg Roman situation – God, you guys said Joe Brady, Greg Roman, and Arthur Smith. I don't know. Who the hell do I go with? Let's go with Brian Daboll from the Bills. I'm not necessarily 100% sold on the guy. I think he'll be all right. He's built an offense around Josh Allen. Josh Allen is a guy that I am sort of afraid of. He looks like the best quarterback on earth sometimes. Then he looks like he doesn't know what the hell he's doing, like fumbling and lateraling the ball in the playoffs last year. So I wouldn't mind going that route. I do think Trevor Lawrence, if we get him number one overall, I think we're going to have some interesting options for head coach. I think we may not necessarily even know who they are at this point in time. Number one for me. Shit, Sean Payton. And let's, you know what? I'm going to jump over to a comment question right here because it talks a little bit more about what I brought up earlier. Joe says, Breeze retires, Jets trade Darnold, Seattle first round pick, Jets second round pick next year for Michael Thomas and Sean Payton. Guys, how would you feel about that particular trade if you're the New York Jets? Matt, I'll kick it to you first.
It's not going to happen, but I would do it. I love Michael Thomas, and I think Sean Payton's a good head coach. But I don't see how that happens.
Green Bean, what do you think about that trade?
Wait, what were we giving up though?
It would be Seattle's first, Sam Darnold, and a 2022 second round pick for Michael Thomas and Sean Payton.
Yeah. If that, I agree with Matt. I mean, I think it's Crazy Town. Well, we can hang out in Crazy Town. If that was what it was, sure, why not? I'd do that.
Ali, how you feeling about that trade?
Look, Madden would decline it, man. It just wouldn't make. It's just not gonna happen, man. But it would be a dream for the Jets. I mean, but again, it won't happen.
I would move mountains to get Sean Payton in here. And Michael Thomas is one of my favorite receivers in the league. So I'm all for it. It's not going to happen, like you guys said. 2K Sports says Dabo Swinney and Trevor Lawrence, laugh my ass off. Imagine that. It's not totally out of the realm of possibility. Now, I don't see Swinney leaving Clemson. He's getting paid bucket loads of money that I don't believe the Johnsons are going to be willing to pay a head coach. And that's going to be the ultimate downfall to that thought process there. But I would love if you could do that. If you could lure Dabo Swinney away and have Trevor Lawrence as our quarterback, now all of a sudden you don't need that rookie year to learn the playbook. He automatically knows the playbook. And I know the Jacksonville Jaguars were talking a little bit about tanking and trying to lure both guys out of Clemson. Ali, what do you think the likelihood of a potential Dabo Swinney hiring is?
I mean, it's very unlikely, but it would be a dream scenario for the Jets. I mean, it would be a dream scenario to have a star quarterback coming in and his old head coach that they already succeeded with. I mean, they've been succeeding since he was a freshman in college. I mean, they've been succeeding since then, and that would just lead towards with the Jets in the NFL. And you know what can happen. You know, the Jets could be a playoff team like that. I mean, it literally could be like that because again, he, like you said, he didn't have to learn a new playbook. He already knows the playbook. He knows how to work the offense, and he'll be ready to go week one. So it would be nice. It would be nice to have him, but I doubt it.
Matt, your thoughts?
I would say it's pretty slim. I don't see him leaving Clemson. I also don't see Lincoln Riley leaving Oklahoma, so I don't really consider them like legitimate chances. If that is an option to get both Swinney and Trevor Lawrence, sure. I think that would be great. I just don't think it's very likely to happen. I think we're still in dreamland or whatever we are.
Green Bean, what are your thoughts on Dabo Swinney?
I would sign up for that in a heartbeat. And if that happened, I would bump Etienne over my favorite running back in the draft, and I'd grab him too. And with the Seattle, I would take Trevor Lawrence, and if Etienne was there with the Seattle pick, I'd take him, and with that in a heartbeat. And then I'd get my receiver with the number 33 pick. That would be killer. Could you imagine doing something like that? Jeez.
Oh, I would absolutely love it. Liam says, God forbid Lawrence doesn't declare for the draft. Would you still keep Darnold? For me, I'm saying I think Darnold's too far gone at this point. I don't think you can bring him back. I think he has regressed too much over the course of the last season, just across the board. Even if you're getting rid of Adam Gase, I think the money aspect of his fifth-year option is looming too large for the Jets. Not to mention, I don't see any way that Trevor Lawrence does not declare for the NFL draft. He's not going to forego $30 million of income. I think the more likely situation, if the Jets have the number one overall pick and Trevor Lawrence is not going to be playing here, I think it's because he pulled an Eli Manning and says he doesn't want to come here. But I think the Jets are one of the more desirable landing spots in the NFL. And I know we're just a punching bag to the media right now, and I'm sure there's probably people in Trevor Lawrence's ear saying, hey, don't go to New York. Look at all the quarterbacks they screw up. But I think when push comes to shove, if the Jets own that number one overall pick, I think it's going to be Trevor Lawrence, and I think we will be just fine with him here. Green Bean, what are your thoughts on Trevor Lawrence and him possibly not declaring for the draft?
I think there's a 1% chance that he doesn't declare for the draft. And one is that little conversation, that little interview that everybody took and just made all these stories out of. I watched it and heard the exact opposite. His answer was, it was like trying to be polite. That's how I saw it. It was like, dude, he's playing football. He's got teammates. What's he supposed to do? Say, oh, I don't even care about this. I can't. He's just saying, hey, man, I'm focused on what I'm focused on. I can't tell you the future. That said, just like you said, Ryan, his value is at a peak. Now, maybe next year he plays well and his value is still here, but it can't go up from the first pick in the draft. It can't. He's been playing football starting since he's a freshman. He's on his third year. He's done with college. He gets a guaranteed $30 million if he comes out. Don't forget the whole COVID scare. These kids thought they were going to lose their opportunity to get into the NFL. A bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. I don't think is anything to even worry about that Lawrence is staying in college.
Ali, what do you think about the prospect of Lawrence staying at school for another year?
Yeah, it's people wanting clickbait articles. People want, they want they want some story out there. I mean, as I write articles, like I do sometimes, I do clickbait articles too, but like not as something like this. People are gonna pick on the worst team in football and the best quarterback to come out in like maybe like 5-10 years. Like that's what it is right now, because obviously they're gonna pick on the Jets. It's the Jets. They suck right now. They're probably gonna go 0-16. Oh, let's pick on them. That's what usually happens. Look, Clemson's still in their football season. Like he's still thinking about football. He's still thinking about winning a championship in Clemson. That's what he's thinking right now. He doesn't care about the draft right now. He really doesn't. I know it's on the back of his mind. Oh, I'm going to be in the NFL next year, but he has a job to do. And his head coach his offensive coordinator is saying, do not think about that. Do not think about that. His parents probably think that. Just focus on you and just finish this season. And again, this is just a BS, storyline that everyone's going to overuse. Fans are going to use that all over again. I mean, I got that day when that broke, I got so many text messages that day that people sending me the link of it, people tagging me in it, and it was just ridiculous. And, it's just a storyline. It's stupid.
Matt, what do you think about the thoughts of Trevor Lawrence not coming out this year?
It's not going to happen. He's coming out. There's no way. I didn't read too much into those comments. Like, what the hell is the kid supposed to say? Like, he's trying to win a championship. That was before the whole COVID thing, before he's going to miss time anyway. So, like, he's trying to win every game. He's putting up monster numbers each week. Like, he's not going to talk about that yet. He still has a task at hand. And, like, the thing that I don't get is people who are like, oh, well, he can't come to the Jets. He can't. They're going to ruin him. Well, what's the better option? He's going to go to Jacksonville because they've had a ton of success, or Washington, or the other New York football team that has been pretty bad the last 5 years. Like there's a reason why teams who are picking first overall are picking first overall. They're in bad situations. These good players, their burden that they have to carry is they have to get these teams out of these situations. Joe Burrow's done a good job with the Cincinnati Bengals so far. They're not winning a ton of games right now, but he is playing really good football, and the future looks bright there. So, no, he's not staying at Clemson. He's coming out, and if the Jets are picking first overall, they'll take him, and he's going to come. It's not going to be an Eli Manning or Peyton Manning situation.
Chris says, Mike Tannenbaum said on ESPN Radio today that NFL executives think Dabo might jump to the NFL next year. Ooh, man, and we better be at the front of his list. If the Jets get the first overall pick, I am running to him. I am giving him a blank check and saying, sign whatever number you want. Ali, what are you thinking about Swinney to the Jets?
Let's do it. Let's run it. Let's make that happen, man, because that would be the best thing that's happened to the Jets in years. And, that's something to change the fan base. The fan base is right now rioting against this team. I mean, they're lucky the stadium is closed right now. I mean, you don't know how Gase wouldn't be able to leave the facility. He wouldn't leave the stadium. Literally, it would just be an absolute wreck right now. So that would give a little bit of hope. We all know about his coaching. His connections, and that would be a great, great, great hire.
Green Bean, what do you think about Swinney to New York?
Well, the first thing I have to say is I'll answer this with a question. When's the last time Mike Tannenbaum said anything of any value? If you can tell me that, then we'll talk about whatever fuck he's talking about.
Fair enough. So, Matt, what do you think about Dabo coming to the Jets?
That was fantastic. Yeah, I would love it. I know I said that earlier. I think it would be a really good fit. I don't think it's likely, but it would be really fun to run back what they've been doing at Clemson the last few years.
Yeah, just as a note, I'm trying to see does anyone know what Adam Gase is currently getting paid as it stands right now per year? I want to say it was like $4 million a year. I could be wrong on that. But for comparison's sake, Dabo Swinney is getting over $9 million a year. Our GM is getting $3 million a year. So it's definitely – I don't know if we're going to be as rich to get Swinney in, but who knows? Maybe the Jets don't want to screw it up and they think he's the best shot at it, and they're just going to throw him a Gruden 10-year, $10 million deal or something absolutely insane like that. And maybe he doesn't necessarily need full player control. Yeah, I don't know. I think the player control thing might be an issue for some of the bigger name head coaching prospects because Joe Douglas does have that right now. We'll see. We'll see how that kind of goes. Eddie says, who should the Jets grab with the second first-round pick? We did talk about this a little bit earlier, but let's go through it again. Matt, who you want the Jets to take with that second first-round pick? I'll change my answer to what I
I'm sticking with my guy, wide receiver Bateman out of Minnesota, speed guy. Get the ball in his hands. Let Trevor and the offense go to work at that point. I think it has to be offense. I know edge and corner is definitely a big need for this team, but the offense is so inept. They're averaging less than 12 points a game in 2020 in the NFL. How is that possible?
Green Bean, how you feeling about that second first-round pick?
I like Matt's pick. I want to make sure that that's stated. But for me, I would bump that a little bit for Najee Harris. I think it's high time for us to put some investment into the running back position. He's the closest thing that we're going to be able to find to a Derrick Henry, and I love him. And I think that would make me so happy if we did that with the second first-round pick.
Ali, what are you thinking about that second first-round pick from Seattle?
I'm going to be honest with you guys. I mean, you guys know more prospects than I do right now because I usually don't look at the draft in October and November, but we fortunately have to this year again. So, I mean, now I got to maybe be more prepared next time. But, again, I think it's going to be either offensive line or wide receiver. It has to be offensive side because that's what the Jets need help in, especially when they get a new coach. They need, and if you get Trevor Lawrence, you need to work on the offensive line.
Yeah, for me, I think I want an offensive player. A lot of it's going to depend on what happens in free agency. Do the Jets go after Joe Thuney? Does he shake free from the Patriots? Are they no longer looking for a guard? I'd like to bring back Alex Lewis as one of the other guards. And then I think you kind of shore up that offensive line. Connor McGovern, someone I've heard a lot of people say Creed Humphrey, the center, possibly at the end of the first round. I don't hate that, but I think when you look at McGovern, you saw a top 10 center there last year. I think something has to give with this offensive scheme. I don't think you go from top 10 center to worst center in the league just like that. I think you bring in a new head coach and letting McGovern at least get another year, I think should be the route we go. Wide receiver, I think probably makes more sense. I'm not a huge guy at going running back early in the draft, but second first-round pick, if we get Trevor Lawrence, number 1 overall, Travis Etienne is the running back I really like. He reminds me a lot of Alvin Kamara, and I love me some Alvin Kamara. Let's see. I saw another one in here. Bam! Mike says, any players, Q and Sam, that can get us a second tomorrow. So I guess he's talking about Quinnen Williams and Sam Darnold. Sam's not getting traded until the draft. I don't think it's going to happen. I think at this point you sort of, want his trade value to get higher. We're not getting a second round pick for him as it stands right now. And at that point, I would just roll the dice on keeping him. For me, Quinnen Williams has shown me enough where unless we're getting like a potential mid first round pick, I'd like to hold on to him and just kind of see where this plays out. I like him and John Franklin Myers, the two of them together. I've really enjoyed watching them. And I think if you add edge rushers to that defense, it all of a sudden becomes a lot more formidable. I think our cornerbacks probably look a little bit better because they're not covering for as long. We do need cornerback help there as well. So for me, I don't think either one of these guys. I think you could get a second for Quinnen, but I would not be moving him for that. Matt, what do you think about Quinnen Williams and Sam as trade bait?
Yeah, I don't think either of those guys are getting moved. And for Quinnen, I would take a first round pick for him. I don't think you're getting that. If the offer's a second, I don't think at this point I can make that move. And I got to give credit to him. He's getting better each and every week. He's taken a second-year leap. And I'm hoping that he continues to go on this trajectory and be a force on the interior of the defensive line. You said it perfectly. Him and Myers have been really, really good on the inside of that line. And maybe you have something if you have Huff and add a piece in free agency and add somebody in the first or second round at edge at that position. Then you could start to get excited. But Darnold's going to stick around for the rest of the year. He'll get moved in the offseason if you get the number 1 overall pick. And Quinnen's hopefully a building block here, and no one else on the roster is going to give you a second rounder.
Green Bean, how you feeling about the Jets potentially trading either Quinnen or Sam, or is there anyone that could get us a second round pick?
I think if there's anyone that can do it, I don't care who would. You know what I mean? Other than Sam, like we talked about, it's a larger picture. Quinnen Williams, if he's going to get you a first round, somebody's offering a first round pick, in my opinion, take it. Second, I wouldn't do it. But anybody else on the team, if somebody says, hey, I'll give you a second for anyone else, take it. But I don't see it. Our rosters, except for the rooks, I mean, I wouldn't trade any of the rookies, but it's like, that's how porous this roster is. We don't have a second round pick value. So
Ali, what are you thinking about Quinnen Williams and Sam Darnold?
Yeah, I mean, Quinnen Williams is a guy that this defense needs to build around. I mean, he's taken that leap, and he's shown, a lot of people were questioning him about how is he going to do this year, and a lot of people were writing him off already. And, he's proven a lot of people wrong so far. And, he's been effective. He already had a 2-sack game this year. So, hopefully he keeps progressing and being better. Sam Darnold, I mean, look, he has his value is very bad right now. I mean, you can't really trade him right now, and you just got to wait till the offseason. I feel like it'll be a little bit more hyped up in the offseason. But right now, I don't think they're going to trade any of those two.
Yeah, I think for me, especially with Sam, one, the value's not there, and two, once teams have to cut all these players to get under the salary cap, I think Sam's contract, at least for 1 year, looks a lot more enticing, and maybe you can get someone to bite on that. Right now, everyone is prisoners of the moment, and you're looking at Sam and you're saying, oh, man, this is not good. So, again, I don't think the trade value's there at this point, so I think we do kind of stand pat. I think the best we're getting is maybe a 4th-round pick tomorrow for any of the players that could potentially be on the trade market. Andrew says, do you guys think LaMichael Perine can be our halfback 1? Ali, what do you think about LaMichael Perine?
He's our next Bilal Powell. But, I think he's solid. I think he'll be a guy that they can keep around. But they do need a running back 1. I don't think he can be a running back 1, but he could be a guy that can help this team move the ball. He can be a guy that comes out and catches the ball as a running back, and he's played pretty well. He's played pretty well, as much touches as he's gotten. But I wish he got more touches. But yeah, I think he's been playing pretty well as a rookie, and I think they can build off of that. But they need another running back around him. But Perine is going to be a good asset for this offense.
Matt, what are you thinking about Perine, and could he be a halfback 1?
I don't think so. I think his ceiling is a second running back. And I mean, when you're taking someone they took him in the 4th round, right? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
4th
yes.
round.
Third pick in the 4th round, I think.
Yeah. Then you're probably.
Wasn't it Clark, then Morgan, then Perine?
No,
or was it?
I think it was
Perine, Morgan, Clark.
First. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Whatever the case. at that point, if you get a long-term RB2 out of it, I'm fine with it. And I think that's what he's going to be. Someone who hopefully gets a second contract on the cheap and is just, around and spelling a running back. I think he's fine in that role. I just don't think he's someone you can give the ball 15, 20 times a game. You probably need to draft somebody, I would say in the second or third round, or spend in free agency, not high end spend, but in the middle of the pack for a running back there.
Green Bean, what are your thoughts on your boy LaMichael Perine?
I love him, but I agree. I think Ali nailed it. I mean, that's exactly how I see LaMichael Perine, and hopefully that's what he does. He sticks around here for 6 to 8 years, and the running back too. If running back goes down, he can handle a game or two with extra workload, but he's just there to get a handful of carries. He's a decent blocker, all those types of things. I think he's a great player to have, and you need those guys, but I wouldn't depend on him to be your bell cow.
Yeah, Perine I like a lot. I think, like Ali said, he's like a Bilal Powell style running back. For me, I think he is god awful in the pass blocking, and I don't want him protecting any one of our quarterbacks in passing situations. But I would like to see him as a backup running back. I think he can certainly spell whoever our starter is going to wind up being. I don't know who that's going to wind up being. I don't know who's hitting free agency. I'm sure there's going to be players we don't know of right now that are going to be hitting free agency. I feel like the draft would be our best route, and I would say the third round is probably the sweet spot for a running back if you had to target one. Right there, I would say, I guess quarterback 1, wide receiver 2 would be the second first round pick I'd prefer, and then maybe either guard or pass rusher. But I do think, like you guys said, we probably need an additional we need an additional running back on our roster. Guys, we have 98 likes on this video. There's over 280 people watching this right now. If you want Adam Gase fired at the end of this season, you better drop a like, because this is going straight to Joe Douglas's door. Or Joe Douglas. It should really go to Chris Johnson and Woody Johnson, because Douglas technically has no say over this. But if you like Adam Gase as your head coach, get out of here. If you want Adam Gase fired, by all means, make sure you drop a like on the video. Make sure you subscribe to Ali, Matt, and Green Bean. All their links are in the description down below. We got about 10 minutes before we raffle off this shirt, guys. If you head down into the description, there is a link to the Jets Flick Chat. Click on that. Answer the poll question of the day. Grade the Avery Williamson trade. All you have to do is vote in the question. I will be giving away a Just End the Suffering shirt at the end of the show. All right. So, guys, anything that we have not brought up so far that you'd like to talk about? Anything that's just kind of boiling beneath the surface that you've wanted to get off your chest? Anyone, speak up.
No, sorry, I was gonna say that I was hoping we'd talk about the Bieniemy thing from your video today. You had me a little triggered online today, Rob. I love.
Let's go. Let's do it.
And Green Bean too. I love the both of you. You guys know that. I think you're sleeping on him a little bit. Again, he's not my number one choice. I would say he's in my top 3, but I think it's a little discrediting to him if you're saying that he's just along for the ride in KC.
Green Bean, how do you want to respond to that?
Well, I didn't see your video yet, buddy, so I don't know. I don't know what's triggering Matt.
Mike,
I'm so angry.
I brought it up briefly earlier. I'm not real high on Bieniemy. Like, if we go that route, I get it, but then you have the whole idea of like, okay, well, is he riding the coattails of Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes the way Adam Gase rode the coattails of Peyton Manning? I don't know. For me, it doesn't feel like it's a complete comparison, I guess, because I think people hate Adam Gase. I don't know if they necessarily feel the same way about Bieniemy. I think the players are probably more on board with Bieniemy. But I just think when I'm looking at him, he doesn't feel like by far the best choice. Like, there's a risk there. I think if the Jets have the number 1 overall pick, I think there's going to be other options available to us. And I think that's probably more why I'm against Bieniemy. I think he may go to somewhere like the Texans or like the Falcons, somewhere like that. Ali, any thoughts on Bieniemy and that sort of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, we mentioned it earlier in the live chat. I mean, I wouldn't hate it. I'm not hating on it at all. I think it's just he's a question mark, and a lot of these head coaching candidates are question marks. And I guess he is coming, like what Matt said earlier. I mean, he's under Reed, man. He's under a guy that has a lot of a lot of talent and a lot of success. And again, he's playing with Patrick Mahomes, all these talented guys, and the players love him. So maybe that could be a good thing for the Jets to have a guy that comes in and like Rex Ryan. I mean, Rex Ryan, everyone loved Rex Ryan, right? So maybe he could be the guy that comes in and everyone loves. So I wouldn't hate it, but it's not my number one option.
Yeah.
KD Allen says, Ryan, we solve your Eric Bieniemy phobia by extending Adam Gase. No, I don't. Look, I don't want this to come off as it's an Eric Bieniemy phobia. It's not that it's a phobia. It's just that he's not my highest up there on my head coaching search. So don't get me twisted. But it seems like a lot of people are pretty upset with me and my take on on Bieniemy right now. I'm looking at all the comment questions over there.
It's interesting with Bieniemy because I don't hear anybody, at least, and I know I'm not trying to say that I dislike him or think that he doesn't have benefit and value. My problem with him is that he's only been an offensive coordinator for 2 years. Patrick Mahomes has been on the Chiefs longer than Bieniemy has been the offensive coordinator. So that's what we're talking about here, man. Is that the guy you want taking over the dumpster fire that is the New York Jets? And we've been a problem for 45 years, man, with a couple little peaks of good. We have been a mess over and over again. Different faces, whether it's a new head coach, new GM, new quarterback, new linebackers, new wide receivers, it's the same result. Is Eric Bieniemy, 2 years as an offensive coordinator, the guy that's going to come and right that ship? Maybe he is. I would be happier with him than some others. My concern is nobody with 2 years experience is right in the Jet ship. I don't even think Kingsbury would be succeeding here. That's just how I see it.
Ooh, anything to add to that, Matt?
Well, if it makes you guys feel better anyway, I think he's going to Houston. I don't think Bieniemy's coming here.
Right.
But now Green Bean triggered me with the Kingsbury comment, man.
Oh, that was just a joke. Don't worry about that one.
I'm giving you a hard time, Green Bean. But it's one last thing for me. I just think it sucks, but it's going to be exciting to see like the draft stuff, the head coaching search stuff. Like that's where I could find my entertainment in this, because the next 8 games are going to be dreadful to get through.
Dreadful. What a perfect word.
That's pretty spot on. John Negron says still no Zuniga, Morgan, or Clark. Zuniga did play yesterday for the first time. He had 9 total snaps, 3 in run defense, 3 in pass coverage. According to Pro Football Focus, he was better in the pass rush. He got a 53.6. Run defense was a 52.6. Overall grade was a 43.9, which leads me to believe I have no idea how Pro Football Focus grades their players, because I don't understand how you could have those 2 grades and get a lower grade overall. But how do you guys feel about Zuniga, the prospects of seeing Morgan possibly start at quarterback at some point, or just back up Sam, or Cameron Clark, the guy who we project to be a guard at the next level? Matt, your thoughts?
I would like to see Zuniga get in the lineup a bit more. Running Jordan Jenkins out there is really doing the Jets no good. So I'd like to see him get more reps for sure. What was the second part of that question? Sorry.
It was just about Morgan and Clark. We haven't seen any of them. We haven't seen Bryce Hall. Like, there's a lot of the rookies we haven't really gotten to see yet.
Yeah, I really have no interest in Morgan playing quarterback. I didn't like the pick to begin with. I don't think he's ready for the NFL. Clark, I think, should get a start at left guard or right guard. Really, either position hasn't been good for the Jets. So I would expect more from them. And I'd like to see Bryce Hall, just because I don't think the Jets' corners have been particularly great. This year's been disastrous at times. And Blesson Austin's a good tackler, but I think he's struggled in coverage. So I would like to see Hall get some starts down the stretch here. Really, the only one I have no interest in is Morgan.
Green Bean, your thoughts on Zuniga, Morgan, and Clark?
Yeah, I didn't even see Zuniga in there, so that's I thought that he didn't play, and because I didn't follow up on it or anything. It's nice to hear that he at least got on the field. I'm really excited. I liked Zuniga before the draft. I liked Clark a little bit before the draft. I really liked Bryce Hall, so I'm really excited to see these guys. I don't think them playing 1, 2, 3 games and not having an impact means anything as far as their potential. I actually really like our draft class outside of Morgan and then the 6th round pick that we traded for Quincy Wilson. I didn't like that very much either. But overall, I think the draft class is really good, and I'm excited to see these guys. I think Cam Clark is one of our starting guards. Toward the end of this year or next year, he'll win the starting job. But yeah, I don't know where they are or anything like that. Like Matt said, I have zero interest in seeing James Morgan. I don't think he's our quarterback of the future, so I'm not like excited about sitting Darnold on IR and playing Morgan. It does nothing for me. But everybody else, yeah, I'm excited to see them like everybody else is. And I think that we're going to be pleasantly surprised with most of them. If Bryce Hall's 100%, you're going to like that guy. Believe me, I'm in Charlottesville. I watched Bryce Hall for the last 2 years, or 1.5 years, really, because he got hurt. He's fucking amazing. Pardon my English.
Ali, how you feeling about Zuniga, Morgan, and Clark?
No, I think, look, it's a dead season, like I mentioned a while ago. And it's time to just see all the rookies. I wanted to see all the rookies. That's why I watch every game, man. That's why I watch Denzel Mims. I want to see Michael Perine out there. I want to see Mekhi Becton rock everyone. Literally, that's what I want to see. Because it's a dead season. We got to see the young guys who's going to be here next year. We got to see who's going to be here next year and see them progress. Even if they get a couple games and not much playing time, at least they're getting a little bit of experience to get ready for next season to be the official starting role on this offense or defense or whatever it is. Yeah, James Morgan is the only pick, like all you guys are saying. I was very confused about. I don't know. Maybe there was like rumors of maybe the Patriots grabbing him or like a Bills or someone was grabbing him in our conference. So maybe that's why Joe Douglas was like, I'm not going to give him to him. But that's the only reason I could say that. But yeah, that's the only pick I didn't like. But this draft class I love so far. Brady, man, he's probably our MVP right now. And it's awesome. It's awesome to see the young guys succeed. Denzel Mims flashing, Michael Perine flashing whenever he needs to. But again, it's rookies are doing whatever they can to improve.
Yeah, man, you mentioned it about Becton. I want to see him continue to throw guys around. I don't know if you saw the screenshot or the play of him tossing Frank Clark, but man, that was nice. Zuniga, I want to see more, like Matt said. Him and Bryce Huff are the two guys I want to see the rest of the season. I don't really want to see Jordan Jenkins. Clark, I'd love to see him get on the field because we need some interior offensive line help for sure, I think. Multiples says, do we shut down Sam with his hurt shoulder for the season? That was something I had kind of projected prior to this game, was the Jets shutting down Sam and putting him on IR and putting him on ice. I think at this point in time, because his trade value is so low, I would say no, we're not going to do it. Ali, any thoughts of the Jets putting Sam on ice for the rest of the season?
No, yeah, I mean, I mentioned it a couple times. I mean, he hasn't been 100% since Thursday Night Football. I mean, after that, he's been really off. But again, I'm just gonna let this all run out about Sam Darnold. I mean, I was watching film of his, and I think it was against last week against Buffalo. He had Denzel Mims wide open in the red zone on the left. He had him wide open, and he went for he was looking at a tight end who was double covered. And then he went to the corner, and he was too late to get it to Denzel. That's mistakes that he can't make. I mean, he turned his hip, and he still didn't see Denzel Mims wide open calling for the ball. And if that touchdown happened, the Jets could have won that game. I mean, the Jets could have had the momentum going to that after making that play. And it's just we've broken Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold his mechanics are all over the place. I mean, he doesn't read the field correctly. His decision making is just absolutely horrendous, and it's just sad to watch, man. I was so high on Sam Darnold when we drafted him. I didn't even think he would drop to us. I was prepared to get Baker Mayfield, who also looks like a disaster right now. But again, Sam Darnold. I hope he can maybe play a couple games well, so we can get some trade value. I mean, he needs a new start, and hopefully the Jets can actually get that done for him.
Green Bean, we putting Sam Darnold on ice?
I mean, that was really well said by Ali. I actually agree, and I share the sentiment. We've talked about it a lot on this panel and amongst ourselves. We're big Sam Darnold fans. We wanted so badly to believe we finally got the opportunity to get our franchise quarterback, and it's 2.5 years later, and this is the stuff we're talking about. It's a sad time. It's sad. It really is. But that was a great example. It wasn't just that the play, his hot read was to the right side of the field. By the time Sam Darnold turned, he had it solid 2 seconds that he was staring at Mims and didn't see him or was reluctant to throw the ball. Either way, that's a problem, man. If his confidence is so lacking that he's afraid to let it rip, or he just can't see the field, that's damage, and I believe it's directly derivative of Adam Gase and his lack of quarterback coach and offensive coordinator, and then paying attention to Sam. He doesn't know what to do with the quarterback. Peyton Manning was Peyton Manning by the time Gase got him. Jay Cutler was Jay Cutler. Don't forget, that was Jay Cutler's Chicago. He was already Denver. So it's like Jay Cutler was already an established NFL quarterback when Adam Gase got him. Same thing with Peyton Manning. This is the first chance he's had. Tannehill, too. Don't forget, Tannehill had a coach before Adam Gase. What the hell was his name? The guy from Green Bay. Remember his name? What was his name? Bill Philbin, right. That's right. So it wasn't like, Adam Gase has never gotten a quarterback before, young. This is his first chance. He didn't hire a quarterback coach. Dowell Loggins is a faux offensive coordinator. He's not real. He's not an offensive coordinator. And Adam Gase refuses to talk to Sam Darnold during the games. That all said, it's a shame. It sucks. We hate it. Sam Darnold is in trouble, needs a year to Josh Rosen this thing, sit on someone's practice squad, sit on the bench, carry the clipboard. I'm just saying it's going to do good for Rosen, and I don't even think Sam Darnold and Rosen are in the same conversation.
All right, Matt, real quick, I want a real fast answer. Jets putting him on ice, and then I'll get to why I'm a little Rosen.
Okay. I don't think so. I think he's going to fight his way through this season. Is that the right decision? Probably not, but I think the Jets are going to try and ride it out with him.
AN says, remember when Ryan wanted Josh Rosen? That's just hooey. That is absolutely hooey. I did not want Josh Rosen. I wanted Broadway Baker. That was my first pick, but that was because I thought Sam Darnold was going number 1. So Sam Darnold was actually my number 1 overall pick. Baker Mayfield was my second. Rosen would have been my third because I didn't trust Josh Allen and I didn't think Lamar Jackson was going to go that high. Guys, we have reached the end of our show. Now I get to raffle off a hat, shirt, or mug from the Jets Talk store. And Ali, you are our guest for today, so give me a number 1 through 15, and I will select someone from the Flick Chat.
14.
14. Ooh. Guess the name on this person. This person, reach out to me on the Flick Chat. Booty Cheeks 916. Booty Cheeks is our winner of the Just End the Suffering shirt. So guys, make sure you hit that up if you want to get one. I do have them available on the store. But let's go around our panel. Let's do our closing thoughts. Ali, thank you so much for coming on here. Any last thoughts for the panel? Plug yourself. Let the guys out there know where they could find you.
Oh, well, first of all, thank you guys for having me. Definitely want to join again. I mean, it's a very entertaining. I mean, this is like therapy. This is like therapy, talking about, about the Jets, how they're suffering, but, we're trying to find the light, we're trying to find the positive of this team. And 0-16, I mean, this is the last message I was going to give. 0-16, you guys should be rooting for. I mean, this game on Monday night is going to be very important to lose. We need to lose this game. And, I have a bad feeling that we're going to win this game. It's just a Jets thing to do. So, again, my page is Loyal NY Jet Fans on Instagram. Again, thank you guys for letting me join. And go Jets, I guess.
Yeah, we'll definitely have you on again. Green Bean, Matt, I'm going to have to go real quick. Rapid fire, go. Green Bean.
Don't buy Jet shit. If we all don't buy anything together, they'll feel it and make the changes we need. Live stream on Jet Nation YouTube during the games.
Perfect. Matt, any last words?
Mock draft coming out tomorrow. New podcast coming out Wednesday. Please tune in.
Guys, thank you so much. My name is Ryan. I've been your pilot. I will see you guys next week.